Abba Yahuwah, I just want to thank you. I thank you, my Father. I thank you that you are so faithful. I thank you that you are the one who wants a people that you can lead by the hand. You want a bride that is one that has learned to sit at your feet and be led by you. Not led by flesh things or flesh thoughts or research done by many things, but by you. And you are the one that will lead us into truth and not back into the ways of Babylon and back into the ways of Egypt. And Father, so many people are wanting to go back to Egypt, to find comfort in Egypt, because when things start to get difficult, it's easy to go back to Egypt because Egypt has the supplies that we need. Egypt is the broad way, but you want the narrow path. And I thank you that this is a church that truly needs to wake up. This is a church that needs to walk before you in white. This is one that you have said that needs to repent and come back to what has been already given from the beginning. You, the one saying, I put before you life and death, choose life. Life is in not only walking in the word, but walking in the spirit, to be able to walk in spirit and in truth. And it's sometimes so easy to go back and to just conform to what people are saying and to what people are doing. But right now, this is an hour where you are speaking, where you are saying, we need to come out from among her. We need to come out of Babylon. We need to come out and be set apart and not touch that which is unclean. And right now, there is an agenda. And the agenda is for a false unity. A false unity. For everything to come under an umbrella. And there's going to be a unity that is not a unity made by you, but a unity that is being made by man. Because everything needs to come under the people that control this world, which are Zionists that control this world. And we need to understand that there is a plan to be able to bring a unity that's going to bring destruction. Father, we are in an hour and in a time right now that when I look and I see, I just want to weep. I want to weep, Father, because if there's no discernment in the hour, there's going to be many that are going to fall away. And you said even the elect will be deceived in the last days. Because your watchmen will warn, but your teachers will go their own way. And so, Father, I humbly come before you and I say, Father, please, have mercy, my Father. Have mercy on us, Father, I pray. I know that you have said, I've put before you a choice. If you're going to go the broad way, you're going to go into destruction. But if you choose the narrow path, there is going to be a deliverance in the narrow path, and the narrow path is a set apart path, and the narrow path is not made up of many, because it says few find it. Few. You said narrow's the road that leads to life, and few find it. Few. Which means it's not the multitudes. It's the few. And Father, I don't even want to be arrogant in thinking that I can be part of that few. But I ask you, please have your way. Father, if I am out of line and if I go astray, please will you lead me and guide me. I do not want to be one that will lead any person astray. But I want to be one that speaks your word, that comes from your throne room because of what you want to say to your people in this hour. That is what is important. What are you saying in this hour? Not what you said 2,000 years ago. That is in our word, but it's what you want to say in this hour. And so, Father, if we do not have your word opened up to you by your Ruach HaKodesh, not by man, but by your Ruach HaKodesh, then how will we know what is the way for us to walk in it? And Father, I humbly come before you and I ask you to teach me and lead me and guide me only through your Ruach, because we need to be the children of the light and we need to have oil in our lamps, and the oil is the oil that comes from your Ruach HaKodesh. And that is why this church is about the seven spirits again dwelling amongst us, like in Ephesians. Please do not remove your lampstand from us because we've become so learned in our doctrines. Yet we have lost our first love with you. What is more important? Our love relationship with you. And let us not neglect that, Father. Let us not neglect that. Because of our love for you, we are going to stand in these last days. And so I thank you, Father. Open up our minds, open up our hearts, open up the mind of our understanding for us to be able to walk before you and for your word to go forth and set your captives free. Because that is what you're wanting to do. You're wanting to bring the word that can set your captives free. Those that are bound, those that are in darkness, to be set free. Help us to be able to be those that will be set free. Let your word set us free in this day in Yeshua's name. Amen. Amen. So, last week, we had a look at this church. We are busy looking at the church of Sardis. And this church of Sardis is really about a wake-up call and to strengthen what remains before it dies. And so this is really, when we had a look at it, we've really looked at a people that are got many works, because their works, they do many works. They can do all these works for the Father. But He has not found their works complete. And we really had a look at that word complete, and it means perfect. And that must be to be able to be in line with Yahuwah's will. What is Yahuwah's will? Do we take the time to find out what is Yahuwah's will? His will according to His word, and His will according to what He speaks and to what He shows. And we should understand that it's to be obeyed as it should be, and Yah's promises that have been given through the prophets. So these promises were already given to by the prophets. And the prophets spoke of destruction, and the prophets spoke of things that are to come. Things, the prophets, the books of the prophets have spoken about things that was going to immediately come when they spoke it. Other things is still to come. Other things have already been, and other things are still to come, and other things are in the millennial reign. There's things in these prophets that's not even for now, like Ezekiel. A lot of, if you read through Ezekiel, especially the latter part of Ezekiel, that is really for the millennial reign. And so there's many things in our Bible that we need to understand, and we need to keep everything in context, and we need to understand that we are living in a time now of when we are now to become the tabernacle of Abba Yahuwah. We don't have a temple. We cannot return back to a temple, but we are the tabernacle, and therefore we are a bride that needs to be led by His Ruach. And this is what we're going to look at today. And for those that are new on the group here this morning, last week I shared a dream, and I'm going to share it again just for those, because we are going to go into this dream in detail with the scriptures that we're going to read now. So this was in 2014, on the 25th of October. I had a prophetic dream, and I saw thousands and thousands of people like in a valley. I'm standing on a high place, and I'm looking down at all these people, and I say to myself, who are all these people? Next minute, Yeshua is standing next to me, and he says, these are the multitudes in the valley of decision. And they need to make decisions. Decisions need to be made to follow Him and be set apart to follow His ways. These were not people that did not know Him. These were people that knew Him, but were not obeying Him and following Him. They were many. He's sealing people off now and cutting others off from those that are His and those that are not. We need now more than ever to listen to Him and discern and draw near to Him and focus on Him. I saw Him drawing a line in the sand, and then I saw a big chasm forming like an earthquake, opening the ground. And if you're on this side, you cannot get to the other side. And He said, a little leaven will leaven the whole lump. So you see, if there's a little bit of leaven, so when there is a sin or where there is a deception, it's going to leaven the whole lump. Every decision we make is going to cost you. So every decision that you're going to make now is going to cost you. If you're going to sow to the flesh, you will reap of the flesh. If you sow to the Spirit, you will reap of the Spirit. This is an hour to listen to Him only and be led only by Him. He will guide us. We are not to move if He does not move. So if He did not tell us to move, then we must not move. We really need to hear Him now more than ever. The gap between good and evil is getting bigger. And if we don't decide now to listen and obey Him, we will be taken out by the enemy, as the whole world is under the sway of the enemy. You need to understand that today. The whole world is under the sway of the enemy, and there is an agenda, and the agenda is unifying under a religious system, unifying under a material system, a worldly system. It's unifying. And you mustn't think that the unity is only going to be in the church. Because when I was in Israel, I spoke to the head Sanhedrin of the land, who had men come to him from the from Muslim faith, to the Sanhedrin, to the rabbis in Israel, to say, we need to help you to build the third temple, to build a temple. We need to help you. Because when we help you to do that, the Messiah is going to come. So you must understand that there is an evil agenda. And the agenda is coming from that which has been from the beginning. That which has been defiled from the beginning. That which has come out of Babylon from the beginning. And we must understand that there is deception, and there will be those that will be amongst us. It says in the last days, even the elect are going to be deceived, and you're going to need to discern. And if discernment is not there, and if you do not see, you are going to be deceived. Because the deception is an agenda that is bringing everybody into a unity that is not of the Father. He came to bring a sword. He came to divide. And there's a remnant that is going to be set apart. And to be set apart means you cannot conform to what everybody else is doing. You need to be set apart. And that is why He's been giving us truths. And that's why He's been teaching us truths of being set apart. Look up. Look and see. Everything is about looking. Everything is about seeing. You're going to understand this in this lesson today. He says, the gap between good and evil is getting bigger. And if we don't decide now to listen and obey Him, we will be taken out by the enemy, as the whole world is under the sway of the enemy. Remember, even that which looks good can be evil. Remember, the tree of life, the tree of evil was the tree of good and evil. So even that which is going to look good is going to have an agenda. And everything about the enemy is to bring deception. If he can deceive you to believe a lie, he takes the word and he uses the word to deceive you. That's what he did with Eve. And therefore, we've got to be very careful. This word has got to be weighed out. And if we hang out more with the unrighteous, and depending on who we're listening to, depending on who we're going to listen to, we are going to be swayed in that direction. We will become more unrighteous. So if we're going to listen to, depending what we're listening to, we are going to be more swayed in that direction, because it's going to cater more to a flesh, to conform to something that's going to be easier on the flesh. And we will become more unrighteous. I started to scream in my dream, wake up, but they could not hear me. I was crying. And Yahushua said, they are deaf, they cannot hear. They are blind, they cannot see. Now is the hour to wake up and choose to obey and follow Abba Yah in everything. Then I prayed and I got scriptures. And these are the scriptures that the Father gave me. And the very first scripture was in Ephesians 5:14 to 18. Now, remember, I read to you last week from Isaiah chapter 6, where we have eyes, but yet we cannot see. And they have ears, yet they have eyes, but yet they have no understanding. They have ears, but yet they are not discerning. So we must understand that we need to have, let's just quickly go read it in Isaiah chapter 6. This was what Father had given me in that week, because Father seems to be speaking to me already in the week of that which is going to come for the teaching on this revelation teaching. And I really only go deep into the message either in the middle of the night or the morning. I don't go and study for hours before that. I wait on the Ruach of Yahuwah to lead. And he says, listen to what he says. He says, go and you shall say to this people. These were the people in the land of Israel. And he said, hearing you hear, but do not understand. So they have ears, they hear, but they have no understanding. And seeing you see, but you do not know. You do not know. you do not know, you do not perceive, you do not recognize, you do not understand, become acquainted with the Father in a relationship of intimacy. We do not know because we do not know Him. We do not hear His voice. We are not led by Him. We are led by many other voices and many other things, but we do not perceive Him. And so we're going to look at this word know. The word know here is the word yada. To perceive, recognize, understand, become acquainted with Him as a husband and a wife in intimacy. So because they've never really taken the time, do we desire knowledge more than we desire Him? Do we desire the knowledge that we acquire more than we desire Him? More than we desire His presence? More than we desire to be spending time with Him? What do we desire? There is a knowledge that is a knowledge that gives us understanding of the word, but there is a knowledge that puffs up and leads astray. They will be forever learning but never coming to the revelation of the truth. And so we are going to look at the scriptures that the Father gave me. He spoke to me specifically from Ephesians chapter 5. So this dream is tied into this church because this is a church that needs to wake up. And how amazing it is that if we go and read the scriptures, this dream was given already in 2014. I released the prophetic word at Sukkot about a people that need to wake up. And now we are actually dealing with the actual church of Sardis, which is a church that needs to wake up, because that is what he said in, you don't need to go there, I'm just going to read it to you, and it says in Revelation chapter 3 verses 2, wake up and strengthen what remains and is about to die, for I have not found your works complete before Yahuwah, before Allah. Remember then how you have received and heard. So remember, what have you received and what have you heard? That you do not fall by the wayside, that you run your race, that you stay on the path that Father's put you on. Not now at the last run, at the last leg, you are now going to do a detour. What are we doing? Are we going to stay on the race that we are to run? What are we doing? So now listen to what he says from Ephesians chapter 5 from verses 14. This is why he says, wake up you who sleep. Wake up you who sleep. Because there are a people that are sleeping. What are they doing? Are they sleeping? Are they slumbering? Are they looking around them and they, busy with so many things, but yet they can't even discern what is going on around them? What are they doing? Wake up you who sleep. So there is a people that is sleeping that needs to wake up. I'm just going to quickly go here to Isaiah chapter 26, because it says Isaiah chapter 26 verses 19, and it says, let your dead live together with my dead body. Let them arise, awake and sing, you who dwell in dust. For your dew is a dew of light, and let the earth give birth to the departed spirits. Now, isn't it interesting? Let them arise, awake and sing, you who dwell in dust. Isn't it interesting? What did we acknowledge? That this church is called Sardis. And what does Sardis mean? It means red, which means dust, which means red, which means earth, which means Adamah, which means where Adam was formed out of the dust of the earth, and that dust had everything to do with the flesh ones. People that will rather want to follow flesh and do what is easy for the flesh. And it's the flesh nature of man. And now it's interesting that this is telling you to be able to come out of the dust. Very interesting. Martin on our group gave me a very interesting revelation where he said, do you know, it's so interesting that the red heifer was also used to take away sin. The red heifer, the dust, the ashes of the red heifer, but it was to be burnt outside the camp. It was to be burnt outside the camp, and then the ashes was used to cleanse the people. So that was the red of the flesh. And it had to be a red heifer. Again, symbolic of flesh. Flesh has to be burnt. Yeshua became the perfect red heifer to cleanse us of our sin. So it's amazing how when we look a little bit deeper, we see these things. And you see, come out of the dust. We're still dwelling in fleshly things. We're still dwelling on earthly things, trying to follow earthly ways, trying to follow what everybody else is doing, as opposed to being able to be those that need to be led by the Ruach of Yahuwah. So look what he says now. And arise from the dead. There you see, arise from the dead, and Messiah shall shine on you. Now, interesting how this is the church that is dead. They're doing works, but they are dead. Then, what I found interesting, and this is what I want to show you today, is that to the messenger of the assembly in Sardis, he who has the 7 spirits of Elua and the 7 stars says this, I know your works, that you have the name, that you are alive, but you are dead. So it's interesting. They've established a name for themselves. They have a name, but yet in the things of the Ruach of Yahuwah, they will be dead. Or in the things of the Torah of the Yahuwah, they are dead. So they're either dead in the spirit, or they're dead in the Torah ways. They are dead somewhere. So they all have a name, they have ministries, they have everything, but there's something in them that is dead, because it's either going to be like the church at this point in time, that is all running with the Spirit, and it's what the Spirit says, but yet in the things of Torah, they are dead. They do not have those works. And then you have those that have all the Torah, that study the Torah, that will study it up to 16 hours in a day, yet they don't study Torah. They study the Mishnah. They study the Zohar. They study the writings of the rabbis. But yet they are dead in the spirit and in the 7 spirits of Yahuwah. They are dead. And so they will divide the letter, and they will divide and divide and divide. And they bring you this and they bring you that, and they bring you all this knowledge that comes from all these things. And yet, where is the Ruach of Yahuwah in everything? Because we must remember, the rabbis do not have the Ruach of Yahuwah. So we must be very careful who we're going to follow. We've got to be very careful. We have this Bible that is our foundation. We were never told to go back to another religion. We were told to go back to the Word. And the Word will give us insight. And now this is the same church that says the 7 spirits, which is the same as what he said to Ephesus. And he said, he who is holding the 7 stars in his right hand, who is walking in the midst of the 7 golden lampstands, says, I know your works, and you labor, and your endurance, and you are not able to bear evil ones, and have tried those who say they are emissaries and are not, and have found them false. And you have been bearing up and have endurance and have labored for my name's sake and have not become weary. But I hold this against you, that you have lost your first love. So you see, he comes by his Spirit again. This church, he comes by his Spirit. He comes by his 7 spirits of Yahuwah. This is the same thing. The others is different. He comes with a sword. He comes with the fire, the sword in his mouth. He comes with different things. This one, he comes again with the Spirit, because you are not being led by my Spirit. You have gone astray. You are not listening to my Spirit way. My Spirit is summed up in spirit and truth. You have to have the balance of both. That is what the Father taught me. from 2009 when I started coming onto this path in 2006. In 2006, I started coming on this path. I started following what the Jews were doing. And then the Father spoke to me in 2009 and He said, you got to get it right. You got to do it my way. You can't follow their way. What is my way? Come back to me. Listen to me. I want to talk to you. Because we got to be led by His Ruach. So now we see that He says, let's go back, continue in our Ephesians. He says, Messiah will shine on you. So you see, Messiah needs to shine. He needs to shine. And what is it that's going to be removed from the church of Ephesus? The lamp. There's going to be no Ruach operating through you because you have got so much of your knowledge that you've acquired that there's no Ruach working through you. There's a balance in everything, people. We need to stay in balance. We need to be led by the Ruach of Yahuwah with the word. Because great deception is on the horizon. See then that you walk exactly, not as unwise, but as wise. We're going to look at that. See that you walk exactly. Now that word exactly, that is the word for circumspectly. See that you walk circumspectly. It's akribos. It's the word in Greek for akribos, which is exactly, which is accurately, which is diligently, which is perfect. Perfect is the word for tamim. It means integrity, truth, without spot or undefiled, without blemish and upright. We cannot add things to the word just because man is adding things to the word. What says in the Bible is what says in the Bible. You can't change what says in the Bible. If it says it's the 7th month, it is what it is. You don't change it. We are starting to fall because we are compromising. What are we doing? What is solid, and we need to follow what it says. Verse 16, it says, redeeming the time, okay, now it says, walking without spot, undefiled, without blemish, and upright. So we must understand, this is the word for tamim. And it is to be clean. We need to be clean because there's clean and unclean. And then he says that we will be able to be not foolish. So it says, and be wise, not as unwise, but as wise. So what does he mean? Wise and unwise. So who do we see in the Bible as being wise and unwise? Let's go look in Matthew chapter 25. Because we need to come back to word of the virgins. And you see, these are the virgins that we need to understand. These are the virgins that we need to be able to see that is out there for us to be able to stay with what the virgins were, the wise ones. Then there was unwise ones. Let's read what it says. Then the reign of the heavens shall be compared to 10 maidens. Remember, they were all virgins. So they're all these brides. They are these maidens. They are these virgins. They are these brides who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise and 5 foolish. Okay, so there's the difference between the wise and the foolish. Those who were foolish, having taken their lamps, took no oil with them. Now I'll ask you, what does the oil symbolize in the Bible? What do you need to light a lamp? Does a lamp get lit without oil? It's not candles that lights the lamp. It was oil. It's always been oil. How do you get oil? The oil comes from the olive tree. And the olive tree is going to have to be shaken. It's going to have to be beaten. It's going to have to go through a beating. It's going to have to go through a shaking. It's going to have to go through an olive press in order to bring forth a wine. But you see, the foolish virgins want an easy path. They don't want to have to go through anything that is going to be too difficult. They want the easy, broad way. So they're wanting to be able to be on a path that is not going to be difficult. Let us not have to do anything. Let everything be given to me that it's easy. And I want to pray everything away, and I don't want to go through anything. You must understand, the shaking is coming upon the earth, and the shaking is going to distinguish between who are the foolish and who are the wise. You see, the wise are those that are going to have to stand, and they are going to cultivate their oil. And how are they going to get their oil? More and more they're going through the olive press. More and more they're being shaken. More and more they're going to be beaten. More and more oil is going to come out of them. Joshua had to go to an olive press. Joshua had to say, as not my will, but your will be done, Father. Even if this is difficult for me, I'm going to go through this, because it's not my will, but your will that needs to be done. It's his will that needs to be done, not our will. And we are to go his way. And that is why he's waking up the people to say, do you not understand? Great destruction is on your path. Do you not understand that I have to equip you? Because if I don't equip you, you're not going to understand how to walk with me in the days ahead. That's why I've been teaching you. That's why I've been equipping you. I've been teaching you to look up, and yet the movie will tell you, look down. You need to look up. You need to see. You need to see what is going on. You need to have eyes to see what is going on around you. You need to discern. You need to understand what is the enemy busy doing. If you don't understand the enemy's plan, how do you know what he's going to do to take you out? The enemy has a plan. Just like Abba Yahuwah has a plan. The enemy wants to sow destruction. He wants to sow deception. If he can sow deception, he will bring disobedience to what the Father has said from the beginning. Because that is what happened in the Garden of Eden. There was one word spoken in the beginning, and then another word was given. And then the deception came, and then the disobedience came. And this is what we must understand. There is going to be much deception that's going to come. Many words being spoken at the moment. And what are we going to do? That's why he says there's going to be a schism. And I'm saying to you, every choice that you're going to make now is going to cost you. If you're going to choose to follow your way, the broad way, it's going to be the broad way that's going to lead you into destruction. And it's going to lead you into destruction in the days ahead. That's why the Father needs to equip us. And that's why the Father has been equipping us. Now listen to let's continue to read. But the wise took oil in their containers with their lamp. So the oil is the cultivating of the hardships that we go through by the light, by the Ruach of Yahuwah that puts us through this process. We have to go through a process. Do you understand? The Ruach will take us through the process. He is the one who is our comforter. He's the one who is our teacher. And we go through processes for us to learn truth. I would not know that there was in my heart. I didn't know that I had pride in my heart against when I had my car was repossessed. When I had my car repossessed, I was left with a little bantam bakkie. And I didn't know that I had pride in the car that I drove until I had to go to a Christian business meeting, and I parked my car outside because I was too embarrassed to park it inside because I didn't want anybody to see me in my little bantam bakkie that was battling with its gears. So I went and parked outside. And when I got into the car, the Father said to me, "Oh, my child, why you park the car outside and wait for everybody to leave before you get in your car and leave? Is there by any chance pride in your heart? Now, if I had not gone through the test of having my car repossessed and me being left with that car, I would not have known that there was pride in my heart in the car that I drove. But there was pride. So the Father puts us through hardships. The Father puts us through trials and tests for us to be able to understand what is there so that we can be humbled to see, wait a second, maybe there is something there. And these are the trials and the tests. And we need to be led by the Ruach of Yahuwah. And you see, the trial and the test is going to come. And I'm under a great trial and a great test. Am I going to stay faithful to what the Father told me many, many years ago? Or am I now going to conform? What am I going to do? Am I going to stay faithful to Him in what He told me then already and in what He's done all this time? Or am I going to conform now because everybody's conforming? What am I going to do? Am I going to join the conforming party? Or am I going to stay faithful to Him? Because He spoke to me many, many years ago and He led me. He was the one who said to me, you got to get this right. And I've done nothing but wanting to get it right. And if He wants me to go another way, He's going to tell me to go another way. So we continue to read, and it says, and now the bridegroom took time, and they all slumbered and slept. This is a warning. You must understand, they are speaking over the nations now. Oh, we're going to remove all these things. Now this is only a flu. It's no longer pandemic, it's a flu. And now, this is going to be a time when they're going to say, well, back to business as usual. It's all going to go back to normal now. They're going to take away green cards, they're going to take away everything, and they're going to say, back to business as usual. So now it's the bridegroom is going to delay. You see, while the bridegroom took time, so there's a delay that's going to come, and then we're going to slumber, we're going to sleep. Let's go back to the way it was before. And at midnight, a cry was heard, see, the bridegroom is coming, go out to meet him. And then all those maidens rose up and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, give us of your oil, because our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, saying, no, indeed, there would not be enough for us and you. Instead, go to those who sell and buy for yourself. You see, you have to cultivate your own relationship with the Father. You have to go through your own trials and your own tests. I cannot write them for you. I cannot give you the oil. That oil, you have to go and dig deep your well to be able to come and get that oil for yourself. And He's going to put you through a trial and through a test in order to get that oil. And it's going to be, the choice is going to be yours, whether you're going to pray the test away, pray the trial away, or be able to surrender and allow Him to take you through. Because you have to get your own oil. And the shakings need to come, and these things need to come. And the shaking needs to come, and these things need to come so that we can produce more oil in us. So, you know, when you go through certain things, it's good to go through certain things. Why is it good? Because as you go through them, it's taking you deeper into that place of your surrendering your flesh man that is still on the throne. And it says, but the wise answered, saying, no. And now look, verse 10. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. And later the other maidens also came, saying, Master, Master, open up for us. But he, answering, said, truly, I say to you, I do not know you. There we go, the no. You see, they have eyes, yet they do not see, understanding. They have ears, yet they do not know. Why? They do not hear His voice. They do not follow His leading. Because what did we read? Let's read it again in Isaiah chapter 6. Look and see, we read Isaiah chapter 6 that said, what did He say about the no? He says, And he said, Go, and you shall say to this people, hearing you hear, but do not understand. Seeing you see, but you do not know. So you see, you seeing, you hearing, yet you do not understand, and yet you do not know. Because for you to be able to see, you need to know. For you to be able to hear, you need to understand. So what do you see going on? That you can see the plan of the enemy, that you can see the destruction coming, but there's a time of peace coming again, that they're saying, let's do away with everything. Let's bring peace now. And everybody's going to turn around and say, oh, you see, these prophets of doom and gloom, they were all wrong. They got it all wrong. And just when we are going to be lulled into a sleep, the destruction is going to come. And so he says, watch therefore, because you do not know the day nor the hour in which the Son of Adam is coming. So that word know, let's just quickly look at it. It's to see, it's to perceive with eyes, to perceive by the senses, to perceive, to notice, to discern, to turn the eyes of the mind to the attention, to a direction which is to him. To pay attention, to observe. Amazing. We are to observe the things in the heavens like we are to observe the things that are going on the earth. We are to have eyes to observe. You are to observe what is going on. Because the stars are going to fall, the things are going to happen. We need to see what is going on around us. Everything is about giving us eyes to observe and to see. So we observe. And that's what we must understand. To look at, to behold. Do we look at him? Do we behold him? To understand, to be sickled in the paying of attention, to be aware, to understand, to be intimate with him as a husband and a wife. That's the know that is here. I do not know you. So I do not know you because you had eyes, yet you did not know. You had ears, yet you did not understand. So we must understand that this is the discernment that the Father needs to give us. There's now much discernment going to be needed. Much discernment. And now if we have a look and see, exactly like this, let's look and see Matthew chapter 24. So let's look and see Matthew chapter 24 from verses 37. And as the days of Noah, so also shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. For as they were in the days before, they were before the flood, eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. And they did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. So you see, we are not to be foolish. We are to be awake. We are to be awake in the spirit. We are to be discerning what is going on. Even if they're going to speak peace, and it's going to look like these people that have spoken peace, they are the ones that have spoken correctly to say peace. Now we're going to do away with all of this. We're going to do away with the masks. We're going to do away with all these things. We're going to do away with all these things, and it's all going to look like it's coming back to normal. But there is a destruction that is just around the corner that's going to be worse than the one that was, because they're setting us up for a greater fall than the one that was before. Now listen to what he says. And know this. So it says, and they did not know until the flood came. Then two shall be in the field. One is taken and one is left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill. One is taken, one is left. And that's where they want to take this, that, we're going to leave. Yes, this is exactly what he's talking about. When Yeshua comes, because this is when he's going to sound the trumpet sound at the feast of Yom Teruah, when he sounds the trumpet sound, then two will be in the field. One will be taken, one will be left, because he's going to take you and he's going to put his feet on the Mount of Olives, and he's going to come and reign and rule. So he's coming. So now listen, watch therefore, for you do not know what hour the master is coming, which is exactly what it says in chapter 25. And know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. So you see, are we watching? Are we praying? We need to watch. We need to pray. We need to watch what's going on. That's why we need the watchman. That's why we need the watchman to be able to sound the alarm, to say, can you not see the plan of the enemy? Can you not see this, what the enemy is doing, what the enemy is planning? But now the watchmen are being silenced and said they must be silent. Let's not listen to the watchman. Now it says, and not allowed his house to be broken into. Because of this, be ready too. For the Son of Adam is coming at an hour when you do not expect him. Who then, listen, is the trustworthy and wise servant, whom his master set over his household to give them food in season? So I ask you, who is the wise servant? The one who saw destruction coming and is preparing their food. Now, the wise servant is going to have to give you spiritual food for you to understand what is coming. They're watching, they're seeing that there's a destruction on the horizon. They're seeing this false thing coming. They're seeing the false unity coming. They're seeing the false peace coming. They're seeing these false things coming. And they're saying, something is going on that is not good. And it's going to even deceive the elect of Yahuwah, because there's a deception coming. And the watchmen are watching, and they're seeing, and they're listening, and they're listening, and they're watching, and they're praying, and they're listening to the Father, and they're sitting with the Father, and they're saying, Father, what is going on? And the Father will show, and the Father will speak, and the watchmen need to warn. Because just when they want to tell you it's peace, the destruction is going to come. The flood was upon them, and there was nothing they could do to stop the flood. And the watchmen have warned, but the people are not wanting to listen. So who is the wise servant? The one that had food in season. You are to know the season that you are in. You are to be able to see that the food is running out, and you are to be able to start gathering the food, because you are to give food to those that are going to come. Because listen to what it says. Blessed is the servant whom his master, having come, shall find so doing. Truly I say to you that he shall set him over all his possessions. You see, Joseph got the dream. Joseph understood what was going to come. There was a famine coming from the dream that was given to Pharaoh. And he understood, he discerned, and he said, we better start gathering food, because a time of famine is coming, and we better start gathering food. But now these other people will say, oh no, don't worry, the Father's going to take care of us, we are going to be fine. He says, who is the wise man? Who is the wise servant? The one who sees the destruction that is going to come. The one who sees that this is going on is going to be able to set food for the people. Because when the people are going to come, they at least are going to be able to have those that have been wise and awake to be able to prepare for what is coming. He says, truly I say to you that he shall set him over all his possessions. But if that evil servant says in his heart, my master is delaying his coming, and listen to what he starts to do, begins to beat his fellow servants and eat and drink with the drunkards. So now we're going to start having fellowship with all those that we've been set apart from. We go back to the ways of Egypt. We go back into Egypt. We go back into Babylon, and we are coming back with them, and we're going to start unifying with all of this. What are we doing? We're going to start coming back with the drunkards. What are we doing? The master of the servant shall come on a day when he does not expect it, and at an hour he does not know, and shall cut him in two and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. You see, he's going to appoint you the portion with the hypocrites, because you listen to all those hypocrites that said, no, this is not what it is. This is what it is. He's not coming now. It's still a long time to go. What are you worried about? What are these people teaching? Are they really teaching the signs of the times? What are they teaching? More doctrines. Are they getting the people ready? Are they bringing the people back to the Father, getting them to repent from their wicked ways and the things in their heart? What are they busy doing? there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Because outside are those that he says, I don't know you. I don't know you. You practiced lawlessness. That's what we must understand. This is what is on our doorstep. This is what is coming. And we need to understand. If you see the evil day appear, a prudent man, when he sees the evil day appearing, has to be prepared. That's why he says, wake up. Can you not see what is going on around you? The hour is late. The hour is late. And what are you doing? You're still lulled in a sleep, thinking everything's going to go back to normal. And now you're starting to become deceived in the process. Let's go back to Ephesians. So he says, redeeming the time because the days are wicked. So you see, are we redeeming the time? What are we wasting our time on? Are we getting our lives in order? Are we asking the Father, shine your Ruach on me? That's why that's why this church needed the Ruach of Yahuwah. That's why this church needed the 7 spirits of Yahuwah. Why did it need the 7 spirits of Yahuwah? Because it needed to be able to allow the Ruach to come and shine in our hearts and see what is there that is still maybe not right. What is there within my heart? Maybe I'm still harboring some unforgiveness, or maybe something against my brother that I shouldn't be harboring. Maybe there's still issues within me. Maybe I'm still in a little bit of resentment, or whatever it is that is there that needs to be dealt with. What is it that's there? That's what the Father keeps saying. You need to go deep. You need to dig that well deep. Go deep with me. Let me shine my light in you. Let me show you what is there that is not pleasing to me. There is a way that seems right unto man, but its way will lead to death. So then, do not be foolish, but understand what the desire of Yahuwah is. Understand what His will is. Understand what Father's desire is. What is His desire? What is it that is pleasing to Him? That is what we need to understand. A foolish person is a senseless person. It is one without reason. It is one that is mindless. We are to understand what the desire of Yahuwah is. And now listen to what verses 18 says. And do not be drunk with wine, in which is loose behavior, but be filled with the Ruach. Now understand something. You know, I have always preached this wine as fermented wine and unfermented wine, and being able to understand that we need the wine. We are not to be filled with intoxicating wine. But today, the Father actually opened up to me something. And He said, what did I say? I come to bring the new wine. So the wine is also being filled with doctrines. So it says, do not be drunk with the doctrines of man. Do not be intoxicated with man's doctrines. Do not be drunk with the wine that comes from the doctrines of the demons, that is going to come from doctrines that man has brought into your life to want to lead you from the path of the truth of His word. There's many doctrines out there. There's many teachings out there. And there's constantly teachings, and knowledge has increased and increased, like it said in the days of Daniel. But you seal up the books, is what He said to him. Because they will be running to and fro, to and fro, to and fro. And we must understand that there is a wine that is intoxicating. Now, we can look at this wine that we can say, we're going to look at it both ways. So do not be drunk with wine, in which is loose behavior. So wine symbolizes everything that is unclean. And where do I get this from? Let's go to Leviticus chapter I keep going back to the same one. Leviticus chapter 10, from verses 9, where he says, do not drink wine or strong drink, you nor your sons with you, when you go into the tent of appointment, lest you die, a law forever throughout your generations. So as to make a distinction between the set apart and the profane, between the unclean and the clean. So we are going to look at this today in terms of doctrines as well. Because you see, we cannot be equally yoked to a non-believer that is going to be able to give us doctrines that are going to contaminate us. Because we cannot have that which is unclean within our temples, that is set apart and clean unto the Father. So he says, so as to make a distinction between the set apart and the profane, between the unclean and the clean. So what is the Father saying? And to teach the children of Israel all these laws which Yahuwah has spoken to them by the hand of Moshe. So what is he saying? Do not bring anything that is unclean, that is profane, into my holy temple. So he saw wine that is intoxicating wine, that is fermented wine. When I say fermented, I say wine with alcohol in it, that is going to intoxicate you. Don't bring wine with alcohol in it and strong drink with alcohol in it into Father's temple, because he said it is defiled. So if he doesn't want it in his temple, he would not want it in yours. He didn't want it in his tabernacle. So why would he want it in your tabernacle? Because this is profane. It is set apart. Now understand something. If you listen to doctrines, and you listen to those doctrines, if you take Christianity, for example, that's giving you doctrines, these doctrines that we've been taught that says everything has been done away with, the law's been done away with, the law was nailed to the cross, and all these things, then you start to go into doctrines that's going to make you become unclean, because you will no longer be set apart by the Father. Because your temple is not going to be a holy temple, because now you are going to become profane by eating what is unclean. Because their doctrines have come to lead you astray. And they will preach the word and twist his word. They do violence to his word. They will twist the word to make you go astray. And therefore, it will contaminate you and it will defile you. Because when we walk this path, there are those that then want to bring the word to us, but they take the word out of context. It's like whenever someone wants to come and bring me the letters of Paul, and they want to bring me Paul's writings, and they say, yes, but this is what Paul said. I said, until you've walked in Paul's shoes and gone and done the churches that Paul went to and where he spoke, then you will understand what Paul was speaking. Paul would have never been against Yahushua. Paul had a living visitation of Yahushua. Paul was a Pharisee, but he understood the dangers of following in a Pharisaical way. He said, I follow Messiah. I have been set free from doctrines of demons that came to me by man. I have been set free from that. I'm coming back to the undefiled purity of the word. And Messiah has come to be able to bring a new way of being able to keep Torah, where it's now written on the tablets of my heart. I don't have a temple anymore. I am now the temple of the living Yah. And so we must understand that these doctrines are doctrines of demons. They are the things that are going to be able to make us drink and become drunk with the doctrines that will come from pollution that's going to lead us astray. And what did Messiah say? Let's go read, because there's scripture for this. And if we go and read in Luke chapter 5. Let's go to Luke chapter 5. Just in case you're saying, okay, but now she's talking about something that I don't understand this. He's talking about wine because there's a spiritual connotation to this as much as a physical connotation. And let's go read in Luke chapter 5 from verses 36. Okay, let's just read actually from verse 34. And he said to them, "Are you able to make the friends of the bridegroom fast while the bridegroom is with them? But the days shall come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, then they shall fast in those days." And he also spoke a parable to them. "No one puts a piece from a fresh garment on an old one, otherwise the fresh one makes a tear. And also the piece that was taken out of the fresh one does not match the old. And no one puts new wine into old wine skins, otherwise the new wine shall burst the wineskins and run out, and the wineskins shall be ruined. But new wine is put into fresh wineskins, and both are preserved." You see, Yeshua came to bring a new message. A message of a deliverance that is to return back to the unadulterated word that would not be adulterated, not by the Sanhedrin, not by the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and not by the believers either. He brought a pure wine. And it says, "And no one having drank old wine immediately desires the new, for he says the old is better." So you see, when we bring truth of the word, it's always easier to go back to the old because the old is better. It's better to have the old because the old caters to the flesh. And it's better to have the old because the old is just caters to our flesh. And so he says, do not be drunk with wine. Do not be drunk with the doctrines that is coming of the demons, that has been given to you, that is going to come with deception and falsehood, in which is loose behavior, but be filled with the Ruach. So you see, we have to be filled with the Ruach of Yahuwah. We have to be filled with his Ruach. So what is the message with this church? It was the 7 spirits of Yahuwah. And so that's why we must understand what is the desire of Yahuwah. We were to be filled with the Ruach. We were to be led by the Ruach. The Ruach will lead you to all the truth, not men's doctrines. Because men's doctrines will take you off the path you have been put on. So the Father comes and puts you on a path, and then men comes with men's doctrines, and then it comes to lead you off the path. And that is why we have to be extremely careful of what is coming from out there, because what is coming from out there is one to bring mixed seed. It wants to bring mixed seed. We have to understand when he said, come out of Babylon, means come out of the mixture, of the contamination. That's mixing the holy with the profane. It's mixing holy things with profane things. And we are to be able to be without spot or wrinkle. So let's look and see what he says in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 26 to 27. It says, in order to set apart and cleanse it with the washing of the water of the word, in order to present it to himself a splendid assembly, not having spot or wrinkle or any of the sort, but that it might be set apart and blameless. He wants a set apart and blameless people, a people that are walking in spirit and in truth, not conforming to the flesh or the ways of the flesh. Let's look at Ephesians 1, verses 4. It says, even as he chose us in him. So we were chosen in Messiah before the foundations of the world, that we should be set apart and blameless before him in love. So we are to be led by the Ruach of Yahuwah. That's why I said it's to be led by the Ruach of Yahuwah. The Ruach of Yahuwah leads us into all truth. He will lead us. He will show us the truth. Let's look at Philippians 2, verses 15. Philippians, so now I'm in Galatians. Philippians 2 verse 15 says, in order that you may be blameless. So you see, he wants to set us apart for what? In order that you be blameless and faultless children of Elohim, without blemish, in the midst of a crooked and a perverse generation. So we are living now in the time of a perverse and a crooked generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. So you see, we need to shine as lights in the world. That's why he says he came to bring the Ruach of Yahuwah to this church, the seven spirits. Why? Because we got to shine the light of Yahuwah. So we must understand that everything of what the Father is trying to show us here is a people that need to be led by His Ruach and by the truth of His Word. You cannot have one without the other. Then the other scripture that he gave me was in Joel chapter 3. So he gave me Ephesians chapter 5 from verses 14 to 18. And then he gave me Joel chapter 3 from verses 13. And if you look at Joel chapter 3, you will understand exactly the vision that I saw. It says, from Joel chapter 3 from verses 13, put in the sickle, for the harvest has grown ripe. Come, go down, for the winepress is filled. You see, the winepress is filled. So you see, that winepress of what we've got to go through, the oil that we were supposed to have, we're either going to have the winepress of the world, or we're going to allow the Father to press us in His winepress, where He's pressed those grapes to get the choicest wine out of us. Otherwise, we've got the wine of wickedness and the wine of the doctrines of the demons, of mixture. And he says, come, go down, for the winepress is filled, the vats overflow, for their evil is great. So the evil upon the earth right now is great. And that is why we need to wake up, because we need to understand that the evil is great. And look what he says, crowds, multitudes in the valley of decision. There you go. This was my dream. The vats are full. The winepress is full. There's great evil upon the earth. And he says, multitudes, crowds in the valley of decision. For the day of Yahuwah is near in the valley of decision. So you see, mankind is now at crossroads in their lives. We are all coming to crossroads in our lives with decisions that we need to make. We have decisions to make, and every day we're being confronted by decisions. There's a broad way and there's a narrow way. Which way you're going to go? Sun and moon shall become dark, and stars shall withdraw their brightness. And Yahuwah shall roar from Zion, and give forth his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. But Yahuwah shall be a refuge for his people, and a stronghold for the children of Israel. So you see, there is a remnant. The remnant is the true remnant of the house of Israel. It's not the greater house of Israel. It's the remnant of the house of Israel. Israel is made up of a remnant. And that's spoken of in Revelation chapter 7, when he's going to be able to have 12,000 from this tribe, 12,000 from this tribe, 12,000 from this tribe. He knows who his remnant is. That is the remnant. And they will be made up of the fullness of the house of Israel, 12 tribes. Then you shall know that I am Yahuwah your Lord, dwelling in Zion, my set-apart mountain, and Jerusalem shall be set apart, and foreigners shall not pass through her again. So what is going to happen? Foreigners, many foreigners, because man is building their kingdom in that land. You must understand, everything is going to come from there. The anti-Messiah is going to rule. And this is why it's all being put together. A stage is being set. The stage has been set. And are we going to fall for this? What are we doing? So we're going to look now at 2 Corinthians 6. In 2 Corinthians chapter 6, because this is exactly what he was saying. There's decisions, multitudes in the valley of decisions. We have decisions to make because there are many in this camp. He says multitudes. And these are people that know me, but they have decisions to make. They need to follow my way. Many of them think they know me, but they don't, because they do not follow my ways. A little leaven will leaven the whole bunch. So there's still leaven in you. We got to get rid of the leaven. We got to get rid of the sin that is there. Get rid of the leaven. And what we're going to sow to, we're going to reap. So in the days ahead, if we don't lift up our eyes and look to the heavens to see the things of the heavens, to understand the seasons and the times, what are we going to do? We will be led astray. Because we need to understand the signs of the times. He says the sun is not going to give its light, the moon is not going to give its light. We are to understand these scriptures. These things are all going to come. So let's go to 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, from verses 14. So what does he say? Do not be unevenly yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership have righteousness and lawlessness? So how can we continue to become into agreement with those that are in lawlessness? And how can we continue to be in agreement with those that are not believers in Yeshua? So there's a camp of those that are believers that are not believers in Yeshua, and there's a camp of those that are lawless. What camp are we going to follow? He says, and what fellowship has light with darkness? What fellowship has light with darkness? We need to understand that there is an evil agenda upon the earth. And the evil agenda is trying to make evil look good and good look evil. And what agreement has Messiah with Belial? There you go. When was Belial? Church of Thyatira. Or what part does a believer have with an unbeliever? So what part have we got with unbelievers? Who are we following? Those that are giving us the word, but they're unbelievers? And what union has a dwelling place of allure with idols? For you are a dwelling place of the living El, and allure, as allure has said, I shall dwell in them and walk among them, and I shall be their Lua, and they shall be my people. So who are his people? Those that are walking righteously, those that are not lawless, those that are walking righteously before him, upright, set apart, following him in spirit and truth. Therefore, now listen, come out from among them and be separate, says Yahuwah. So Yahuwah is telling you, come out from those people. Come out from those that say they're believers, but yet are following lawlessness. Come out from those that are not believers. Come out from among them and be separate, says Yahuwah, and do not touch what is unclean, and I shall receive you. And I shall be a father to you, and you shall be sons and daughters to me, says Yahuwah the Almighty. Having then these promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all defilement of the flesh and spirit, perfecting set apartness in the fear of Elohim. Are we perfecting set apartness in the fear of Elohim? So you see what is unclean. He says, touch not what is unclean. That word, unclean, is tamei. To be unclean, to become impure, to defile, to pollute, to contaminate. Our lives need to be set apart. We need to be set apart in character of the name of Yahuwah. How can we be unclean and speak his name? And then there are those that do not want to speak his name. We are to be set apart in his name. His name is the character of who he is. And now we don't even want to speak his name. We will continue to speak Lord and God. If we defile his name, what did he say? They defiled my name by what they did. We cannot take the name of Yahuwah upon our lips and continue to be unclean. So if we are those that are going to start to take the name of Yahuwah upon our lips, then we need to come out of that which is unclean, that which he deems unclean. So do you understand why he will not reveal his name to those people that are still being defiled? That's why they don't know his name. That's why they're not going to know the name of Yahuwah. They cannot take the name of Yahuwah upon their lips and still continue to eat their pork and their unclean things and their seafood and all these unclean things. And continue drinking their wine and all of this. All these things is unclean to the Father. We need to be set apart. So now we start closing off as we look now, as we close off Revelation chapter 3 in chapter 3 from the church of Sardis, and it says from verse 3, remember then how you have received and heard, and watch and repent. So we need to watch and we need to repent. If then you do not wake up. So if these people do not wake up, I was standing there, I was screaming at them, wake up, wake up. And the Father said, they have eyes, yet they cannot see. They have ears, yet they do not hear. I shall come upon you as a thief, and you shall not know at all what hour I come upon you. You know why? Because they cannot hear and they cannot see. So they no longer discern the Spirit of Yahuwah to be able to discern the coming, to be able to discern when they need to leave or whatever it is that the Father's going to tell you. You can no longer hear his Ruach. Because remember what he says to those in Ephesus, that he removes the lampstand. It says that he will remove the lampstand from among them, which means he removes his Ruach. Remember, the Ruach of Yahuwah is going to be very much not very powerful on this earth because more and more wickedness is being put on the earth. So the only vessels that can carry light are those that are going to be more set apart to him. And then he says, nevertheless, you have a few names in Sardis who have not defiled their garments, and they shall walk with me in white because they are worthy. He who overcomes shall be dressed in white robes. So you see, there are those amongst this church that you have a few names in Sardis who have not defiled their garments. So you see, they have not been contaminated by the deception. They have not allowed themselves to be defiled. They are wearing white garments, set apart garments. Purity, holiness, set apartness unto the Father. And they shall walk with me in white, because they are worthy. They shall walk with me in white because they are worthy. Because they have humbled. And they are willing to do what the Father wants, no matter what. And he who overcomes shall be dressed in white robes, and I shall by no means blot out his name from the book of life. So this really bothered me. So does there mean that there are some that are not dressed in white, whose names are going to be blotted out of the book of life? That is a very, very serious warning. A very, very, very serious warning. That people have this understanding, once saved, always saved. So I can be saved, but I can still carry on and continue as I, in my flesh way, do my flesh things, and it's fine. It says, I will by no means blot out his name from the book of life, but I shall confess his name before my Father and before his messengers. So the Father is wanting us to be able to understand that if we are going to continue to be defiled by the things that are going to come and defile us, there is a danger in this. We will not have white garments. And look and see. If we go look at Revelation chapter 18. No, Revelation chapter 19 is just coming up in my spirit. Revelation 19 verses 7 says, let us be glad and rejoice and give him praise, for the marriage of the Lamb has come, and his wife prepared herself. And to her it was given to be dressed in fine linen, clean and bright. Fine linen. And what is the fine linen? Is the righteousness of the set apart ones. Righteousness, the righteousnesses of the set apart ones. That is what it means to be able to walk and be the one that is going to be set apart and righteous before him. And righteousness is one that is going to be able to be in right standing with him, and one that is obedient to his to his word and to his ways. Now, that righteousness, to be righteous is the word dikios, observing divine laws, keeping the commands of Yahuwah, people whose way of thinking, feeling, and acting is wholly conformed to the will of Yah, being innocent and holy. We look at and therefore are those that will have everlasting life because they know him. They know him. 1 John chapter 2. To know him is to keep his ways, his laws, his commands. Let's read it. 1 John. 1 John chapter 2. It says, and by this we know that we know him. So how do we know that we know him? If we guard his commands, and the one who says, I know him, and does not guard his commands, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. And whoever guards his word, truly the love of Allah has been perfected in him. By this we know that we know him. The one who says he stays in him ought to himself also walk even as he walked. So he says, beloved, I write no fresh command to you, but an old command which you have had from the beginning. The old command is the word which you heard from the beginning. So it's the word that has been given from the beginning that is not to be altered, not by any man. So praise Abba Father for his word. And this is the church of Sardis, a church that needs to wake up because it is asleep, it does not discern. It is part of the foolish virgins that doesn't have oil in its lamps. And so I want to close off with a poem that the Father gave me this is a poem that the Father gave me on the 16th of February in 2013. And this is what it says. Awake, awake, O sleeper. Awake out of your slumber. Come out of her, my people. Come away to that secret place where I want you to seek my face. As I stand at the door of your heart and knock, there are deep things within you that I want to unlock. The hidden sins of your heart that is constantly keeping us apart. No man can come and take my place, as I am the only one that can help you on this life's race. My path for this walk is very narrow, but I will keep you as I do the sparrow. A surrendered life is all I ask, then I can use you to do my task. I need there to be nothing of you, so that all that I ask you will do. I need you to walk in the light of my truth, so when my judgments come, people will know it's for the good. My kingdom is soon to come, but many from me are going to run. I come for a spotless bride, as no sin in your heart, in your mind, from me you can hide. Time is running out, and that is why to my people I am starting to shout. Repent, repent, my children, repent. Come back to me so I can come and set you free, and to teach you how to just be and walk in obedience to me. What I need in this hour is a friend to be my hands and my feet extended to a dying world to the end. So I ask you today, will you come away? As I want to release my presence so that with you it can stay. So beloved, will you come away? Amen. Abba Yahuwah, thank you, Father, that so long ago you wrote this poem. In 2013, already in February. And it's coming to 12 years that you wrote this poem. And this is the hour where you are once again speaking and telling your people to wake up. You're wanting us to be able to come and humble ourselves before you. Because there's many things that we might think that is right, but yet it is wrong. There's many things that still hinder us in our hearts. And we are to be sheep that hear your voice, and the voice of a stranger we cannot follow. And many people are going to speak many things, and that's the prophetic word that you gave me on Monday. Many people are going to speak many things, but we need to hear your voice. And Father, I am just a watchman. I'm just a watchman who will speak your word, your unadulterated word. And all I can do is do what you have shown me to do and go in the path that you have shown me to go on. And I thank you, Abba Yahuwah, that you are not confused, because you are telling us to come out of Babylon, and to come out of Babylon means to come out of confusion. And your people are confused because we lend our ears to many things. But if we were not to lend our ears to many things, there would be no confusion. Because we would hear your Ruach and you would say, this is the way, walk you in it. You have put signs for us in your word constantly, and we are to walk by your word, because your word is a lamp unto our feet. But many will take your word and they will twist it, because that is what the enemy has done from the beginning, to twist the word. And it makes it so difficult. It makes it so difficult to be able to discern in this time. And the only way that we can discern is it taking us back to a broad way or a narrow path. Because if it's a broad path, you're not into a broad path. You had 8 people that came out of the previous dispensation when you came to an end with Noah and the flood. You had 2 out of the original that came out of Egypt. You are not into big numbers. And so, Father, I just ask you, please, will you help us, my Father? Help us, Abba Yahuwah, to stay humble before you, to continue to be those led. You will lead us and you will guide us. You show us already in visions, in dreams. You show us, you lead us, like you will lead me to the word already before I'm even going to do the teaching. You will lead us you will lead me in the word, and you will lead me by speaking the things that you need to say to me. Because we are a sheep that needs to hear your voice, so that we will not be led astray. And so I thank you for this word, Father. I thank you for a church that truly needs to wake up. You are shouting. Your trumpet is sounding. And there is a people that is sleeping that now need to wake up desperately. And when I saw that dream, Father, there were many. And I will continue to blow your shofar, and I will continue to shout and call those that are still asleep, that are still tied to Babylon and its system, to wake up and come out from the clutches of the enemy that is going to lead them astray in the end. And so, Father, I thank you. I thank you for your word, my Father. I thank you that you will continue to lead us in your truth and lead us and guide us. That we will be those that will have the white garments to be able to be at your wedding banquet. And for some of us to receive that white garments, they are going to be crucified. They are going to be able to be beheaded for their faith. As it says in Revelation 7, there's a number that needs to come in of those that are going to have to die for their faith. You have the perfect number of who that is, of how many there is to be. And so, Father, I surrender to you, and I ask you, Father, to come and have your way in each and every one of us, Father. Help us in this hour not to be deceived, I pray, in Yeshua's name. Amen.